Boy, you just can't find a good boyfriend nowadays, can we?
What?
Ridiculous. Yeah, we watched She-Hulk episode 7, so hit that intro!
Woo!
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, everybody, if it's your first time joining us, welcome. We're two dads who love all things fandom, from Star Wars to Star Trek, Marvel to DC, and Middle Earth on down to Westeros. We love it all, and we want to bring all of our insights and love of all things nerdy to you, our viewers. So if that's your cup of tea, we're here for you, and you should definitely subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on all of our amazing reviews and insight that we bring to all of our favorite fandoms. So thanks for tuning in. My name's Chris Matthews, and I'm joined, as always, by my best friend and driving buddy today, Mr. Matt Parham. How you doing today, brother?
I'm doing excellent and ready to go talk about some She-Hulk tonight.
Yeah, so let's get into the episode. She-Hulk Attorney at Law, episode 7, titled The Retreat, directed by Anu Valia and written by Zen Wells. This episode, once again, is taking us down another side adventure with Jen, as she and a bunch of really good dates with Josh only end with some ghosting.
Yeah, I actually found this episode to be finally on point. A refreshing turn for both the writing and the plot. I thought it was great. We've got some good character growth throughout this episode, which I think had been set up in previous side plots. But unlike those other episodes, we didn't have any of the distracting, disjointed side plots that bogged down the legalese portion of She-Hulk and just some of the weirdness that's been there. And to me, kind of left us with just these parts of episodes that never really fit together very well in a complete story. But I feel like we're back on track this episode, and one of the reasons for that is they centered the plot. They got it right down to where basically Jennifer couldn't move anywhere. There was this call for her to go check out what Abomination's doing, see if he's messing around with his ankle bracelet. She gets out there, and then slam, man bull runs right into her car and wrecks it. And she's forced to stick around, not really worry about her budding relationship with Josh. She's got to unplug and come to center herself with the help of her fellow practitioners of whatever schlock Abomination is shilling. But it seems to work. It seems to get her to come to terms with both Jennifer and She-Hulk existing in the same body, and I really like that. I think that it gave Tatiana Maslany a great chance to flex her acting skills, as we know that she has from Orphan Black. We've seen her do an amazing job in that show and other material, and she finally got to do a little bit of solid, serious acting in this episode, and I was so happy to see that. I also thought that, we got a little bit of hero action whenever she meets the Wrecker, and he's part of the self-help group there. And there was all these fun little comedic beats that felt very much like Marvel's self-deprecating, self-referential stuff. And, I didn't necessarily need to know the comic book backstory to each of these people that were part of that group to enjoy them and to enjoy the comedy of it and to laugh right along with the characters. It was great. I really thought that they did a good job with this episode of balancing all of that stuff, making it a fun show to watch with little bits of emotional weight, little bits of humor, little bits of hero action. It was perfect. I think that they did such a good job, and I'm going to rate this an 8 out of 10 for this week's episode. How about you?
Yeah. So yeah, we get a lot of D-lister Marvel characters in this episode, which is pretty cool. And
No
we actually
doorman.
got to see
I was completely disappointed.
no doorman. One day we'll get the doorman in here from the the Great Lakes Avengers, as it were.
Yeah.
But for this, yeah, we got to see Emil Blonsky's retreat in this, and it was not what I was expecting when he talked about going to a retreat with his 7 wives. So
Right.
it was pretty cool getting to see all that, and I was really excited for Jen. I'm really invested in Jen finding a really good guy. So like the beginning episode part of this episode, seeing her go on all these great dates, I was just like so happy for her in those scenes, and I was like, oh, this is going to end poorly. So I
Yeah.
was just like, oh man, I knew they were setting us up for something bad
What did
as
I
soon as
tell
they
you?
showed us all
What
that
did I?
really good stuff. So you nailed it on the head, buddy. He ends
Yeah.
up being basically a spy for this group that wants to get her blood. And what happens? He ghosts her because he got what he wanted. We see that at the end of the
Yeah.
episode. But first, let's talk a little bit about these D-lister Marvel characters that we got. We got Man Bull, played by Nathan Hurd, who in the comics is named William Torrance. He's a henchman that's tasked for kidnapping test subjects for a mad scientist. And he was forced to actually transform himself into Man Bull when he was stopped by Daredevil himself. So that was pretty cool.
Yep.
Then we got Saracen, who's played by Terrence Clow. He is a vampire in the comics, and he goes up against Blade in a few issues. And then you got
Which
Porcupine.
great that everybody was teasing him like, oh yeah, he thinks he's a vampire. You know?
Yeah, right. They are teasing him that he thinks he's a vampire. That was a pretty cool little backstory. And again, Matt,
Yeah.
like you said, you don't really have to know these characters' backstory to enjoy this performance and everything. So I did find that really cool. The other actor, the other character here is Porcupine, that really bad smelling guy when he took off his mask. Doesn't get out of it ever. So that I like that scene where he took it off, because that's real world right there. If you have never taken off your costume, it's gonna reek some, isn't it?
Gonna get a little ripe.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So Porcupine was played by Jordan Aaron Ford, and the character's name is Alexander Gentry in this, and he was a villain who invented his own suit and fought against Ant-Man and the Wasp. And there's another Porcupine out there that actually bought the suit from Alexander Gentry, and his name was Roger Gawking, and he was also a henchman who eventually becomes good. So the final guy that we have in this scene is El Aguilia, played by Joseph Castillo Madiet, and he's an actual mutant. This character is an actual mutant, and
What?
he can generate. Yeah, so he can generate an electric blast through anything that conducts electricity. That's why he has a sword, and it becomes electricity. So he fought against, in the comics in the 70s, this character fought against Power Man and Iron Fist. So Power Man is Luke Cage, if you didn't know. And so there you go. We yet again have another reference to mutants in this episode, and one who is not a matador, but who admittedly did some light matadoring in college. So there you go. I definitely enjoyed parts of this episode, but I didn't enjoy this episode very much, because I found, like, when the wrecker comes in, I just didn't understand why Jin didn't ask him, why did you attack me in that in the
Very true.
alley.
Yeah, very true.
And clearly he knows more about that, about her, getting the syringe and getting her blood and stuff like that. And why didn't he bring that up if he had a change of heart and whatnot? So I was a little bit perturbed when it came to that. Like, they kind of were like, oh, I forgive you, we're good, let's just move on. It's like, no, there's more to this than just
Yeah.
him attacking her. It's like there's a whole plot there. And why isn't she asking these questions? I would want to know. It's like, why did you attack me? But that was never asked her in this episode.
Yep. That's a good point.
And once again, we find at the end of this episode, you were right, Matt, Josh was indeed a spy. We kind of guessed this in our last episode, reviewing episode 6 of She-Hulk. But it was all to get Jen's blood. So that really, it made me mad, because I just want Jen to have a good relationship. But in this universe, apparently there's no good guy out there that, will
there's
treat
no
Jen
good
right.
guy out there that isn't a villain, or
Yes.
a mutant, or
I don't think any villain is a good guy,
out of
by
their
the way.
it's just, Yeah, there
I guess we
isn't
got
a
Manbull.
guy.
Manbull's a good guy.
He's a good guy,
Oh,
but he's only a good guy because he's in therapy.
so there you go, guys. Therapy is a good thing for everybody, even for villains. So we're moving to an end game with this season and everything. We see what we're being set up for. They now have Jen's blood, so I bet you anything Todd is the big bad of this, and he's going to become a Hulk
Yeah,
himself, and that's where we're leading with this series. Josh just got her blood while she was sleeping. I'm sure they didn't need like an adamantium needle for him to get her blood while she was sleeping as regular Jen. So that seemed to get dropped as well from last week's episode. So Matt, you gave this an 8 out of 10. That's high praise.
uh,
I, on the other hand, didn't.
you convinced me, man. There are some plot gaps there and some holes that I
Yeah,
can't ignore now. I'm going to drop it to
yeah.
a seven,
Sorry.
7 out of 10.
7 out of 10 for Matt. Now I've convinced him to lower his rating, and I did not enjoy this. This is my least favorite episode of this season. Once again, I'm sitting here. I'm like, we're gonna get Daredevil at some point, but I'm ready to move forward. So all in all, I didn't really enjoy this episode as much as the other ones. I just got really mad about the whole Josh plot, and I'm just upset that he ends up turning into a bad guy after all. I just want to see Jen have a good relationship, I guess, at this point. So that pissed me off. So I'm gonna go ahead and give this a 5 out of 10. So we're moving on. We're moving on with She-Hulk. So we enjoyed this episode with you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this time with us, and we'll see you again next time here on Fatherly Fandom. So from our families to yours, adios.